I am delighted to be here with Jerry Reed, who I've known for
Oh, wow.
15
Oh,
years
wow.
plus. And Jerry's a senior specialist and director of academic entrepreneurship at Michigan State University. And I'm really glad to be here with you, Jerry. And we've talked about everything from walleye and cheese curds to coaching youth basketball to the future of higher ed, and love to have a conversation with you about where you see things in the Michigan, education system.
Sure.
You as a land grant institution, it's a really special, and you help me understand that someone can bring a cow to campus and a sick cow to campus and get help theoretically. I
Yeah.
don't know if that actually happens,
Yeah,
but
well, it does. It does. I've been
so,
stuck behind horse trailers and other large animal trailers many times on campus, and
yeah.
they do amazing work. So,
So tell me about what things are going on in the world, in the North Country there.
Yeah. So, Michigan, really interesting situation. Like we're 49th in like population decline, right? So we're almost last, right? And brain drain, people leaving, people moving out, and with our current administration, which is about to change in November, but there's been a lot of work in trying to address that issue. And mentioned Michigan State being a land grant institution. I think we play a pivotal role in really trying to work in that space and help provide educational opportunities, meet the different types of skill gaps and other things that exist in the state to be able to retain talent and be able to provide opportunities, certainly on the educational side. And been a lot of initiatives that have been introduced over the last 7 years in that space. Workforce development initiatives, other kinds of initiatives to really help retain talent, and then also on the organizational side to provide opportunities so that you can find a well-paying opportunity and you can stay in Michigan. So we take that seriously and are trying to do what we can in the online and continuing education space. And we see generally our numbers are probably like many institutions. We're in the online PCO space. We're 70-75% of our learners are coming from the state of Michigan and participating in programs. So constantly trying to look at the program portfolio, anticipate and provide opportunities for those learners to, in general, provide educational opportunities, but also hopefully align with where those learners could then find opportunities in the state of Michigan to stay and raise a family and do the things that help the economics of the state.
I know we've worked together on looking at helping the supply side get ready
Right.
And address. Can you talk about academic entrepreneurship? How that's going at Michigan State in terms of helping a very large institution be able to connect with the changes that are in the demand from the students and what they need and how they need it and so forth.
Yeah, so it's as you know, because you've worked with us along the way. We've been in the space for over 20 years, right? And pretty typical path, right? Graduate degree, professional graduate degree programming, grad certs, those kinds of things. And I'm not saying there still isn't opportunity to add to that. And of course, the ever-changing landscape, new opportunities present themselves. But we're getting close to the end of the tail, if you will, as far as what else can we bring to market and what else can we put in place, kind of from the traditional landscape of programs that are there. So there's a lot of focus on what's emerging and what's needed. And that starts to cross over into the undergraduate spaces. It starts to cross over into the professional development spaces and helping organizations meet skill gaps and other types of things that are there. and we're in a decentralized environment, right? So, um, and we have a new president, like 130, 140 days in. So we've been spending an inordinate amount of time in the last few years really thinking about what that strategy looks like. And I think we're finally starting to emerge from those discussions with some ideas about what that could be. And a large part of that is in the spaces of what can we provide in those professional development arenas, pathway arenas. How do we connect where learners are and what they need? And so I think in the coming year, probably you're going to see uh, more of an emphasis on those more digestible, pathway oriented types of programs.
Yep.
And ways that we can connect with what learners are looking for. And as you know, because this is the space that you're in, really understanding that and having a really good outlook of what those things are, it's hard to do that, right? There's data, there are trend signals, there are other kinds of things that are there, and we're just trying to get better at understanding that. And then I joke a lot that most of my job is ethical and legal coercion, right? Like we don't get to tell anybody what to do. We don't get to say, hey, we're going to design these programs, we're going to develop these programs. We have to go out in the academic setting and help people understand what that looks like and really kind of convince them that there is opportunity here and that this would be a good investment of your faculty's time. And then look for faculty who are willing to work in those spaces, and then try to develop quality learning experiences that deliver on those opportunities and needs.
It was about 14 or 15 years ago, and I remember I brought up the idea to you guys of this when online learning was somewhat new and there were fewer courses, of wouldn't it be great if in the Big Ten that online courses that you offered that Purdue didn't and so on, that you collaborated and gave students the ability to take courses from the other schools online. And it actually came up in this morning's panel,
Yes.
That idea. And I chuckled because I thought about, and I remember what was said to me.
I laughed out loud myself.
I remember what was said to me 14, 15 years ago was like NFW, not likely to happen. Revenue, transcript, ego, just a whole lot of, but I do think that's got to be part of the future.
It has to be. It has to be. The we're eventually going to come to an understanding that the current model, if you will, is not going to work. Right. I don't know how long that's going to take.
Yeah, we don't all have to do everything.
Right. And I've been a big advocate for that. And the interesting thing is when we first started talking about that 15 years ago, although this did exist 15 years ago, there are models out there, right? It's formerly it's now the Innovative Digital Education Alliance, formerly the Great Plains Idea.
Yep.
Right? They figured it out, right? They figured out how to do. And in full disclosure, I serve as a member of the IDEA board and cabinet. So, but fundamentally, there are those examples. There are other examples that are out there, and we've got to move to something like that. Just if for no other reason than the alignment of resources and expertise and understanding and being able to develop and deliver, taking the best from the institutions that are, whether it's a consortium model, call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's really about the cooperation that would exist in that kind of an environment. And at the end of the day, I think we would be stronger in delivering better opportunities to learners by doing that. And there's plenty of space, right? There's plenty of space to be able to do that. And everybody can be successful. And and I know you've talked about this too, I think it would help with kind of institutional identity and institutions, you know, like staying in their wheelhouse, right?
Right.
And
Be
not
good at this.
right.
Right.
And
Right.
from a land grant perspective, there's so much room for that kind of cooperation and working in the varying spaces. And let's be honest, you've got to be able to pivot and you've got to be able to move. And I heard the term yesterday, and it not brand new, but institutions are battleships, right? Like they don't turn easily. So you've got to be able to find ways in which you can maneuver and be able to do that. And I don't know if it's going to happen in my career lifetime or even my lifetime, but
hopefully those are different.
Yes, hopefully. Although you never know. But yeah, I think I was so elated to hear the conversation today about those kinds of partnerships, and
I was as well.
We have to do it. I don't see any other way for. I mean, you can look at it from a survival standpoint. I choose to try to look at it from what's best for learners and what they're trying to do. And I think we've got to get over ourselves and realize that that's what we need to do.
Right.
And
sharing.
Yeah.
So yep. So you've familiar with the OPM world. You guys have embraced that at different times. There was an important role. Things are absolutely changing there now. What are your thoughts about where things are headed and how they're going to get there in relationship to that transition? Because they have to. Whether it's from policy, whether it's from just faculty resisting, and capabilities of schools have changed in terms of what they could have done in 2010 versus what a school is able to do now.
Yeah, I mean, I think and I think even if traditional, so like I'm going back 10, 15 years, like traditional OPM, right? I'm not talking about like unbundled services, although that could probably be included in this too. But the traditional model is it's on life support and it's time to pull the plug, right? And we have relationships, right, that are very, very traditional. But if you, in talking with the partners that we have, like they're recognizing it too, right? If they're being honest with themselves, and many are, but it's got to change because it's dying. And I think there are two main reasons for that. One, the marketplace has evolved immensely in the last 5 years and over the last 10 years. And let's be honest, a key component of those relationships where the entity and the institution are successful is an ability to be able to reach scale and be able to drive that. And there are so many factors and variables in there that are that have changed. There's so many more opportunities in the marketplace. It's much more competitive. The cost of acquisition and everything else from the OPM standpoint has gone up. And you've got to change the model. And regardless of where regulatory elements may fall on this, and like those have been hills that have been climbed, and they reintroduce themselves. But there has to be a different model in there, and I'd love to see how that might connect to what we were just talking about. Like, what could those organizations do to help institutions that were willing to collaborate,
to be a broker potentially?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, it has to change. It's going to change whether you want it to or not. We've already seen it. Right? And
so, just some closing thoughts. What are some things you see in the near-term future in terms of higher ed?
Yeah. I just, and you and I have talked quite a bit about this, is defining and really knowing and understanding and then pursuing what your institution is good at.
Mhm.
And most of us aren't getting more resources.
Right.
Most of us aren't able to hire more people, or not the number of people that we would need. So you've got to be very focused, and you have to be very strategic in what you're doing. And I know it overused cliche, like know what your lane is, stay in that lane, those kinds of things. And that's where I think if you're looking for expansion kinds of opportunities, connection kinds of opportunities, I think it just speaks back again to collaboration. And you don't have to be all things to all people, but if you want to make some of those things available, find somebody else who is doing that, and partner with those people. And I just think that's key in being very definite and very connected to what your mission is, and what you're trying to do, and then be the best at it that you can be.
Right.
Right.
We talk a lot with schools about program rationalization and the different dimensions of how you do less or do what you do more, but fewer things.
Right.
And the market opportunity. What is the actual demand? What is your domain area of expertise?
Right.
Who are you to be able to deliver this? These are some basic business concepts. And then how are you able to then go acquire students? But then how aligned is it to your mission? And like you said, your mission doesn't have to be done all by you.
Right.
I think I see us coming into an age where a lot more collaboration is going to be required. I think we have too many schools for the demand, and the type of structure that we have in many of these schools is not as you talked about, the ocean liner turn or the battleship turn, not as agile or as flexible as the population that wants education is. I remember, they talk about how long a commercial was in the 1970s versus how long a commercial is now. I mean, it's gone from, minutes to 5 to 15 seconds. And that same principle is happening, I think, in how people consume any number of things today. The concept of a sabbatical is a wonderful concept, and yet people don't have that kind of time in their lives to be able to take functionally a 4-year or 6-year sabbatical or a 2-year or 3-year sabbatical to do a master's. They need to do it in combination with a complex or busy life.
And there's the pace of the pace of shiny objects, right? Seems to be monthly now, right? So you're thinking about, you're strategizing, you're trying to develop pathways and ways you're going to pursue something, and you're 6 weeks into that, and then new shiny object. Like, we have to be doing something about that. And
it's that expression. We're now experiencing the slowest pace of change we're ever going to experience going forward.
And
so,
well, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
this is great. Great
pleasure.
to see you.
Pleasure.